My family uninvited me from Christmas at the $8,000 chalet I paid for, so I canceled it and watched their perfect holiday plans fall apart. My name is Patrick. I'm 28, and my relationship with my family has always been complicated. From the outside, we look like the picture-perfect suburban family. Dad in his crisp business clothes, with his know-it-all air. Mom, who insists on keeping the peace, but often seems to side with him. My younger sister Vanessa, the golden child. She can mess up and still be called spirited instead of reckless. Then there's me, the one who worked hard, kept his head down, and still felt like an outsider. For as long as I can remember, Christmas has been their stage. Every year the same pattern. Vanessa in the spotlight, Dad reciting platitudes about family values, and Mom making everything look flawless while ignoring the cutting comments aimed at me. I learned to take the passive-aggressive barbs, the comparisons, the tiny reminders that I wasn't really one of them the way Vanessa was. But over the last year, something shifted. I had a stable job and steady pay. And for once, I wanted to do more than be a bystander. I wanted to contribute. That's how the chalet came about. I found a beautiful cabin-style chalet up in the Highlands. Snow, a wood-burning fireplace, big windows overlooking the slopes. Postcard material. I spent weeks finding the right place, working out the budget, and finally booked the whole place. $8,000 flew out, but I thought it was worth it. Maybe this would be the year they saw I cared and wanted me included. I even texted Dad the confirmation so he could show it off to his friends. He didn't thank me. He said, "Good, that's the least you could do." I shrugged it off. That was Dad, never giving credit, never saying no. But as December neared, the Pfizers reemerged in their usual way. Vanessa kept calling it her chalet trip, like I'd planned it for her. She posted on social media, "Can't wait for our family Christmas at the chalet Dad rented," and I wasn't even mentioned. When I asked why she worded it like that, she smiled and said, "Relax, Patrick. No one cares who booked it. It's all Dad's idea anyway." That should have been my first big clue. Still, I wanted to believe that once we were there, they'd show some gratitude. Instead, everything erupted on a normal Wednesday in early December. I'd stopped by my parents after work to drop off boxes of decorations I'd bought. They were in the living room with wine. Vanessa sprawled on the couch, pondering outfits. I was about to mention I'd stocked up on supplies for the chalet when Dad cut in. "You're not invited to Christmas this year." He snapped, as if telling me to take out the trash. I froze, barely registering the words. "What?" I said, thinking I'd misheard. "You heard me," he repeated, swirling his wine. "It's going to be a family-only Christmas. We don't need complications. You can do your own thing." I laughed quietly, more stunned than amused, because I was his son. Vanessa sneered from the sofa. "Dad just means it'll be less stressful without you. Don't make a scene, Patrick." Mom gave me that pitying look she always did, like I was some stranger asking for charity. "Maybe it's for the best, dear. We want peace this year." I can't fully describe how I felt. Hurt, sure. Betrayed, obviously. But mostly there was a clear, cold clarity, like a curtain dropping and finally seeing them as they were. I'd been chasing validation for years. One line from Dad made it obvious I never belonged. I didn't argue or beg. I set the boxes down, nodded, and said, "Fine." They probably expected me to go home and cry. What else? But already, I was thinking about the chalet reservation in my inbox, booked in my name, charged to my card. That night, I got on my laptop, moved the transfers I'd made to Dad back into my account, and canceled the chalet. No penalty. It was early enough. The booking had Dad's name on paper, because I wanted him to feel involved. But the payments were mine. When the cancellation went through, the credit returned to me. I didn't tell them. I went to bed with a calm I hadn't expected, half waiting for fallout. The next morning, my phone was a mess. 31 missed calls, 12 voicemails, and one text that stopped me. Dad's message, "Call me back now." I didn't. I sat with coffee and listened to his voicemails escalate from confusion. "There's a mistake. The chalet isn't showing on my account." To irritation, "If this is a stunt, undo it." To fury, "You've embarrassed me, Patrick. Fix this now." The thing that really hit him was shame, that his friends and extended family might find out the big trip wouldn't happen. That mattered more to him than dumping his son after he'd paid for everything. Vanessa began texting around midday, more entitled than angry. "Are you seriously doing this? You promised the chalet. My friends know. Do you even care about what this does to me?" I didn't reply. Silence felt more powerful than anything I could send. Then the game started. Mom appeared at my apartment with a casserole, letting herself in with a spare key I didn't know she still had. She tried the soft approach. "We got off on the wrong foot. Your father says things in the heat of the moment. He didn't mean you weren't welcome." Her smile dimmed. "But you could fix the chalet issue. Your father's reputation is at stake. It would mean so much to everyone if you handled it quietly." Her manipulation was transparent. It wasn't about including me. It was about cleaning up their mess. I asked what would happen if I didn't. She set the casserole down, folded her hands like prayer, and said, "Then you'll make things very difficult for the family. Do you want to ruin Christmas for your sister?" Vanessa always came first. I remembered birthdays where Mom got lavish gifts, and I received practical things like socks. I remembered the time Vanessa totaled my car, and my parents told me not to be selfish because she'd been through enough. Same pattern. My sacrifice, her spotlight. I didn't give Mom the reaction she wanted. I said, "Thanks for the casserole," and walked her to the door. She looked at me with that sad expression, like I was the problem child, and told me, "Your father is very disappointed in you." Soon, Vanessa added me to a new group chat, "Christmas at the Chalet Snowflake Christmas Tree." The irony stung. She gushed about ski suits, champagne, and Instagram photos, oblivious that I'd canceled everything. Dad said he'd handle the wine. Mom sent emojis. Then Vanessa tagged me. "Patrick, could you send the updated booking confirmation? Dad wants to ensure dinner reservations are set." I stared at the message, unsure. Every instinct urged me to call them out in the group and expose their greed. But something told me to wait. Let them spin their fantasy a while longer. The longer they believed it, the sweeter the eventual snap back to reality. The anxiety built. They began telling extended family and boasting that Vanessa was somehow hosting the trip. An aunt messaged me confused. "Your sister told me you're not coming. That can't be right." When I told her Dad had uninvited me, she gasped. "But you're the one who paid." Word spread. Their pristine image started to crack. Their texts got frantic. Then Dad showed up at my apartment door, not furious this time, but artificially charming, holding a bottle of wine like a peace offering. He sounded practiced. "Patrick, son, we need to talk about the chalet situation. Let's be adults. We can work something out." He lingered at the door like a salesman, smiling the way he did in business settings, that tight, calculated smile. When he finally asked to come in, I let him. He sat, leaned forward, and softened the story. I was frustrated. I said something harsh. Your sister's under a lot of stress. Her job is shaky, money's tight. The chalet trip matters to her. She wants to impress her friends. It was the same script. Vanessa's needs first, mine last. Then came the pitch. Rebook the chalet. Use your card again and put it under my name so I can manage it. In exchange, we'll talk about increasing your involvement in family decisions in the future. As if belonging to the family was a reward to be negotiated. I kept my voice calm. Let me get this straight. You want me to rebook an $8,000 trip after you told me I wasn't invited, just so Vanessa doesn't get embarrassed? His smile flickered, then returned. It's not about embarrassment. It's about family unity. You wouldn't want to ruin Christmas, would you? I almost laughed. Family unity, coming from him, sounded hollow. He pushed harder. If you refuse, you're sending a message that you don't care. And don't expect us to be there for you when you need us. That was the true betrayal, the transactional way he viewed family as leverage. His words cracked something in me. I thought of all the help I'd given them. Loans after bad investments, fixing things at their house, always being patient while Vanessa got the praise. And now he was telling me none of that mattered unless I opened my wallet again. He leaned back and said, "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." 2 days later, my bank called, flagged transaction. Someone had tried to use my account to make a big purchase, an attempted reservation deposit, and the billing name on the attempted booking was my father's. That was the final rupture. Hearing that my father had tried to exploit my account didn't make me angry at first. It made me hollow. I expected manipulation, not attempted fraud. The bank said the transaction was flagged because the billing name didn't match the account holder. Otherwise, it might have gone through. I thanked them and sat stunned. My own father had tried to steal from me. There was no more thread of loyalty left. I didn't sleep that night. Vanessa kept posting about the chalet. Mom kept the guilt trips coming. Dad kept his arrogance. And now this. The betrayal was big and heavy. Yet in that mix of hurt and shock, I felt something else, a strange freedom. I realized I didn't really have a family, not in the way I'd imagined. Over the next few days, Vanessa painted me as the villain on social media. Vague posts about selfish people who ruin things. My cousin asked, "Did you really cancel Christmas?" Mom texted non-stop, begging me to fix it. "Your father's under so much stress. Vanessa's heartbroken." Not once did they ask how I was. At work, it was hard to focus. Dad's "nothing's free" echoed like a curse. My performance slipped. I stayed late to avoid my apartment and the silence. Everywhere I looked, there were festive scenes of warmth and togetherness. And I had a one-bedroom flat and a pile of unanswered messages reminding me I was unwelcome. There was a night I nearly cracked. I hovered over Dad's contact, thumb on the call button, thinking maybe if I apologized and gave in, I could be back with them. But then I remembered the bank call, the fake booking, the hollow feeling. I chose resolve. I started small. I collected the emails showing the chalet was booked in my name, the cancellation reimbursement, and the bank's fraud alert. I saved Vanessa's posts, her texts demanding I fix things, and Dad's voicemails. For the first time, I stopped reacting emotionally and began treating it like chess. Every move they made, I planned a counter. I didn't tell them what I was doing. On the surface, I stayed calm. I stopped answering calls, ignored guilt-laden texts, and let them think I was sulking. Meanwhile, I built something they wouldn't expect. Before I could carry out the rest of my plan, they pushed me even lower. About a week before Christmas, I found a typed letter nailed to my door from Dad, signed by him. It said I would no longer be welcome at family events unless I learned to respect their sacrifices. Vanessa deserved the chalet because she'd shown loyalty. I'd caused friction and disgrace. The final line? Patrick, you're not needed in this family. Consider this a warning. I sat on the floor with that letter until the words blurred. That was rock bottom, a deep, settling anguish. Yet even in that darkness, something else shifted. The boy who craved praise had bent himself into their pattern. That boy was gone. What remained was quieter, sharper, and more deliberate. I was done fighting for their approval. I decided to make sure they felt what it was to lose something they thought they controlled. In the solitude of my flat, I started to plan. Focus sharpened after that letter. It felt like a lifetime spent chasing approval that would never arrive. In that moment, I understood I didn't need it anymore. Their line, "You are not needed in this family," didn't crush me. It freed me. If I wasn't needed, I owed them nothing. If I owed them nothing, I could start living by my own rules. Step 1 was to cut off the quiet drains. Over the years, I'd been covering shortfalls, slipping Vanessa money when she overdrew, helping with bills after Dad's investments failed, chipping in for groceries, fuel, utilities. It had become a habit born of guilt and the hope it would buy me belonging. I stopped. I changed my online banking passwords, deactivated Mom's emergency credit card, and redirected my mail to stop unwanted access. It felt like turning off a set of leaking taps that had been running for years. Then I turned inward and focused on work. Instead of coasting, I arrived early, volunteered for projects, and put effort into tasks I'd once avoided. Part of it was distraction, but another part was deliberate. Every hour I invested in myself widened the space between their shadow and my life. My supervisor noticed. By the new year, the word promotion came up. A raise, more responsibility. Momentum built. My bank balance rose. I stopped answering their seductive, guilt-laden messages. I deleted them and started going to the gym after work. The routine of lifting, sweating, and gradual progress became ritual. Physically stronger, I felt more confident. I wasn't the same person who had sat on the floor clutching that letter. The change radiated outward. I reconnected with friends my family disapproved of. Julian, an old college friend with a small marketing agency, offered me freelance work. What began as occasional gigs grew into real income. "You've been hiding your skills too long," he joked. "If your family doesn't appreciate you, others will." Outside their bubble, I was respected and valued. That shifted the power dynamic. Remember the evidence folder I'd been compiling? Chalet receipts, Vanessa's posts, the fraud notice, Dad's voicemail? I started arranging those pieces not out of spite, but to confirm I wasn't imagining things. The pattern became undeniable. Attempts to delete, distort, and even exploit me. If I wanted a response, it wouldn't be an emotional outburst. It would require precision, patience, and letting them dig their own hole. Meanwhile, opportunities kept appearing. Julian introduced me to clients. Freelance work expanded to contracts with higher pay. I moved to a larger apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the city skyline. Standing there at night with a glass of wine, I'd think, "This belongs to me, not them." It wasn't about money or status. It was about building something they couldn't claim or control. Each forward step fed determination instead of desperation. They kept trying. Vanessa guilt-tripped me. "You're wrecking everything." Dad made veiled threats about burning bridges. Mom played the martyr. "I lie awake at night worried about you." Those lines used to cut. Now they only grazed. I didn't reply. Silence became my most effective tool. Then an unexpected opening appeared. One ordinary Tuesday, while helping Julian prepare a presentation, I saw an email from my aunt. "Thought you should see this." Attached was a PDF, a scanned chain of emails between Dad and extended family. Dad had written that Vanessa would cover Christmas expenses and that I couldn't contribute, painting me as humiliated and to be left out of conversations. The message rewrote reality to make me look weak and irresponsible. The document confirmed what I suspected. They weren't merely excluding me. They were erasing me and recasting the narrative so I seemed disposable. That realization changed my plans. If they wanted to play with stories, I'd make the truth loud, clear, and impossible to twist. The timing favored me. My promotion had just landed. Freelance work was thriving, and my savings were healthy. For the first time, I wasn't just surviving. I was in a position of strength. Financially stable, professionally respected, and socially connected. I sketched a 3-part reveal. Step 1. Document everything. I organized a folder with labeled files, Vanessa's social posts about the chalet, bank statements showing my payments, the cancellation receipt, the fraud alert, and the email chain from Dad. Every lie left a paper trail. I had it. Step 2. Allies. My aunt, who had sent the email, agreed to meet. Over coffee, she admitted she'd long thought my parents favored Vanessa unfairly. She hadn't realized how deep it ran. Her insights helped pinpoint where the family's vulnerabilities lay. Step 3. Position myself where they wouldn't expect it. I reappeared at family birthdays, informal meals, and other gatherings. Everywhere but my parents' home. At first there were whispers and awkward glances, but I stayed calm, polite, and present. I didn't defend myself or mention the chalet. I let them see the visible evidence of a stable job, a nicer apartment, ... better health, and a quieter happiness. Gradually, doubt crept in among relatives who had only seen Vanessa's boasting. Julian connected me to an event planner, and that contact sparked the final part of the plan. If my parents wanted to use family events as a stage, I would ensure the spotlight landed on the truth. Power isn't always the loudest voice. Sometimes it's patience, stepping out of the shadows, stacking the evidence, aligning allies, and waiting until opponents are so confident they don't notice the ground shifting beneath them. By Christmas, my parents believed they'd won. No chalet trip. They told others I'd ruined it. Vanessa posted staged photos from a ski resort she'd rebranded for attention. But I knew the facts, and I knew the next move. My aunt called in late January to say there would be a large family gathering for my grandparents' anniversary. The exact audience my parents loved to perform for. Cousins, aunts, uncles, family friends, and some of Dad's business partners. It was the setting for the reveal. I spent the week before the anniversary polishing the evidence folder into a presentable file. Everything was organized so I could show it on a laptop and projector. I didn't want theatrics. I intended to let the material speak. On the night, I wore the suit I'd bought with my promotion bonus, crisp and modestly tailored. I shook hands and accepted compliments. My parents noticed me. Dad stiffened, Mom's smile wavered, and Vanessa rolled her eyes as if I'd interrupted her event. Conversation moved around the tables until Vanessa, predictably, brought up the chalet and blamed me. "Patrick bailed," she announced, "and Dad and I had to scramble to make Christmas decent." I set down my drink and replied calmly, "That's interesting, Vanessa, because from where I sit, it looked a little different." A hush fell. Dad tried to shut it down. "Let's not air family drama." But I smiled and said, "It's about family, and since you started the story, perhaps everyone should hear the full account." I pulled my laptop from my bag and, with a cousin's help to switch inputs, projected documents onto the screen. One by one, I showed them the chalet confirmation with my name and payments, the cancellation receipt and reimbursement, Vanessa's bragging posts, Dad's email chain rewriting the story, and the bank's flagged fraud alert naming him. I did not shout or dramatize. I stated the facts. I paid for the chalet. They told me I wasn't invited. When I canceled it, they attempted to use my account information without permission. The room turned silent. Forks paused on plates. Faces went pale. Vanessa accused me of distortion, but the evidence was irrefutable. Murmurs spread. "I thought something was off," said an aunt. One of Dad's business acquaintances leaned back and muttered, "Unbelievable." Dad tried to downplay it as a misunderstanding, but I cut in. Forgetting to invite someone is a mistake. This was deliberate, and I think everyone here deserves to know what family values have meant to you. The word values hung in the air with a new weight. Mom whispered, "Patrick, please stop," but it was too late. Their constructed facade had shattered in front of the people they wanted to impress. I didn't linger. I left the hall while questions and comments trailed after them. For the first time, the burden lifted from my shoulders and fell on them. Walking into the cold night with my head up felt unlike anything I'd known. The morning after, my phone buzzed constantly, not with messages from my parents, who kept silent, but from cousins, uncles, and acquaintances who had been at the anniversary. The tone was disbelief, sympathy, and validation. "I can't believe they treated you like that." Word spread fast. My parents' reputation, the image they'd guarded, was fractured. Some of Dad's colleagues who'd attended stopped returning his calls. A business contact withdrew from a collaboration over ethical concerns. For a man who built his life on appearances, watching that crumble was severe. Vanessa tried damage control on social media with cryptic posts about jealous siblings, but screenshots of her original bragging had circulated. Friends unfollowed her. Her circle dwindled. Mom retreated into silence. Her previous peacemaker role now read as complicity. I stayed quiet. I didn't need to boast. Silence, once a wound, had become my most effective response. Weeks passed and the distance widened. No more guilt trips, no letters nailed to my door. They had lost leverage, and I didn't miss them. For the first time, I felt light. I had work, friends, independence, and peace. In March, my aunt met me in a cafe and told me Dad had attempted a dinner to clear the air, but few people came. "You don't realize it yet," she said with a smile, "but you won. Not just against them, but against the hold they had on you." That night, I stood by my apartment window and looked at the city lights. For years, I had tried to fit their shape, carrying their approval like a burden. I didn't need it anymore. I'd built something they couldn't change or take. My life, my dignity, my future. Their chalet had failed, their reputation had fractured, and their grip on me was gone. As I stepped away from the glass, a small smile came to my face. In truth, they hadn't blocked me from Christmas. I had closed the door on them,